In this concept, we're going to talk about solving rational equations. Okay, and there's actually a typo here. Okay, a rational equation is an equation that contains one or more rational expressions. And we talked about rational expressions in the previous concept. Okay, let's look at an example. Solve the following rational equations. Example 1. 1 over x plus 1 equals 3 over x minus 2. Now, the main trick to solving rational equations involves eliminating the fractions, okay, the complex fractions, and rewriting the expression as a simple, algebraic expression, trinomial, binomial, monomial, etc. But the main trick is to eliminate the complex fractions, right? Because this is, pretty complex to solve as a fraction like this. So what we do is we can either, if there's a single fraction on each side of the equal sign, we can just cross multiply, right? So which essentially means that we're taking the lowest common denominator, okay, the LCD. But if it's a single fraction like this, we can call it cross multiplying, right? And we can essentially, so we'll have 1 times x minus 2, right? And then 3 times x plus 1. Okay? And now we have a standard algebraic equation, right? We can just use a distributive property, distribute the 3 to these parentheses, to the x plus 1, and then we'll have 3x plus 3 equals x minus 2. Then we can isolate the x's, combine like terms, standard operations that we've been doing, okay? Then, in the end, solve for x, and then we'll get x equals minus 5 over 2, okay? Now remember, again, this is in the case that we've had a single fraction on each side of the equal sign. Now, for example 2, we'll look at more complicated expressions like this one, right? So x minus 3 divided by x minus 3 over x minus x plus 2 over x minus 2 equals 1 over x. So a little bit more complex expression. But again, the main idea is to eliminate the fractions. And we can do this by multiplying all the terms by the LCD, right? So in this case, we have denominator x, and then denominator x minus 2, and then denominator x. The LCD of these three denominators is x times x minus 2. Okay, so if we multiply all three of these terms by the LCD, which is this, we can eliminate the denominators, okay, while not changing the value of the equation, okay? The equation is still an equation, the equal sign is still valid. We've just manipulated it and rewrote it in a more simple form that we can solve, okay? So multiply across by the LCD as shown below. So again, multiply each term by the LCD, x times x minus 2, x times x minus 2, x times x minus 2. So what happens is all the denominators cancel out, as mentioned. So this x cancels with this x. Here the x minus 2 cancels with the x minus 2. And then here the x cancels with the x, and you end up with whatever is remaining. So x minus 2 times x minus 3 minus x times x plus 2 equals x minus 2. Okay? And again, from there on, it just becomes a matter of distributing, combining like terms, the whole 9 yards. Okay? In the end, we get, after some manipulation, okay, we get x equals 1. All right? And again, this is the main trick involved. Here we have some exercises. Please pause the video, work on these, and come back for the solutions. Okay, so we need to solve these two rational equations. So here we have the first one, x over x minus 1 minus 2 over x equals 1 over x minus 1. So again, multiply by, so I'm going to use the dot to refer to the multiplication sign again, in order not to confuse it with x. So times the lowest common denominator here is x times x minus 1, right? It's the smallest term that has all the denominators as factors. So what we do is, again, we multiply all the terms by the LCD. So x minus 1 times x minus 1. So now the denominator will cancel out. Okay? So we'll have x times x, right? So, which is x squared, minus. And then we'll have 2 over x times x minus 1. The x will cancel with the x. So we'll have 2 times x minus 1. So minus 2 times x minus 1. Okay? And then equals 1 over x minus 1. Here the x minus 1 cancels with the x minus 1. So we get 1 times x, which is just x. Okay? Now I can distribute and bring the x to the left-hand side by subtracting x from both sides. And then rearrange the terms. Again, I'm starting to combine steps because, you know, at this point, you should be familiar with all these operations. Okay? We want to get to the gist of this concept. These steps are obviously discussed in greater detail in prior concepts. If any of them seems a little difficult for you, please go back and review the respective concepts. But at this point, you know, we're at an advanced enough level that I can combine the steps. So rewriting in proper form, we'll have x squared minus, so 2x, and then minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2, and then x brought to the left-hand side is minus x equals 0. Okay, minus 2x minus x is minus 3x, so x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. Factoring, we'll have x, so we need two factors of 2 that add up to minus 3, and that would be, so since this is plus and this is minus, so both factors will have to be minus, so minus 2 and minus 1. Minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2, minus 2x, minus x is minus 3x. Okay? So now we have x equals 2 and x equals 1. These are our solutions. Okay? Next exercise. So we have 1 over x minus 1 over 2x squared equals 1 over 3x cubed. Now the LCD here is, for the variables, it is x cubed. For the numbers, it is actually 6. Okay? So times 6x cubed. So 1 over x times 6x cubed, the x cancels with one of these x's and you get a square. So you have 6x squared minus 1 over 2x squared times 6x cubed. So x squared cancels with this and you get 1x remaining. 2 divided by 2 is 1, divided by 2 is 3. So you get 3x. Okay? Equals 6x cubed. 1 over 3x cubed times 6x cubed. X's cancel out fully. And then divided by 3 is 1, divided by 3 is 2. So you end up with 1 times 2, which is 2. Bringing it to the left-hand side, we have 6x squared minus 3x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, and so this is you know, it's a little challenging to factor. So I'm just going to use the quadratic equation. Okay, and again, you should know the quadratic formula. I mean, you should know the quadratic formula. Okay, and by plugging in, we'll end up getting x equals 1/4 plus or minus. This is 4, I promise you. 1/4 plus or minus the square root of 57 over 12. Okay, which when evaluated gives us minus 0.38 and 0.88. That's my solution set. Okay, this is it for this concept. See you in the next video.